Welcome to episode 3 of Against the Pods. Today's guest is signed to the UFC. Her fight record is 6-1. She's the first British female fighter to win on debut in the UFC. Her nickname is No Mess, and we are hoping to see how long Conor can endure one of her arm bars when we come off set. It is Melissa Mullins. Hello, Melissa.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Very good.
Brilliant to have you in the studio, mate. As much as we probably want to dig into the UFC and attempted to go straight there, we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to start with what life was like growing up for you.
Okay.
So we're going to leave that in your bag, whether you want to start that at primary or secondary. But yeah, talk to us about what life was like growing up for Melissa Mullins.
I guess I'll start off saying I guess I was a kid of no luxury. Hungarian mum, Irish dad, divorced quite early on from a young age. Ended up going into that typical mum has me, dad has me on the weekend.
Yeah.
Mum was a bit of a cretin, may I call it. Moved us to various locations in and around the UK. We started in Oxford. We ended up moving to Northampton. A funny story about that situation is my mum, when we lived in Oxford, we lived in a place called Rosehill, and she got herself into a bit of a mix with the people in the cul-de-sac that we lived in, and ended up feeling quite threatened. I can't remember the story super detailed, but I remember it forced my mum to get up and get us out. So we ended up living in another flat, which was like a secret location sort of in Oxford. And then a specific memory, I remember my mum being so scared, she forced us all to live in the front room on mattresses. And then I can't remember exactly what happened, but I remember we had to get up and go. Like, we couldn't live there. And we ended up in Northampton in a women's refuge, and nobody knew where we went. Nobody, including my dad. So my dad, from what I remember, had to hire somebody to find us so he could have contact with his kids.
Wow.
So I was in a women's refuge, and my dad ended up because a women's refuge, you're not allowed men. So when my mum and my dad made contact, somehow they agreed upon letting my dad have us for the weekend, and he had to pick us up from around the corner. Then we drive to Oxford, spend the weekend with my dad, and then the secret drop off back to the refuge.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy.
And what age are you talking there where you're having to move around to different locations?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I don't know if there's a thing about childhood and trauma, but my childhood is the memories of my childhood is so broken. I don't remember a lot of it. But I've got these distinct little memories that people will be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So do you see that as a good thing now that you don't remember much of your childhood? If what you're kind of describing, sounds like you never really had a place to be able to kind of settle down, make friends and stuff like that.
So I actually, funny enough, got asked this question last night. I wouldn't know how to describe how my childhood has affected me now.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say, in some senses, I am hardened, or my personality is due to my childhood.
Yeah.
Definitely could have gone in a different direction to where I've ended up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that happened. And
what was school like? So if we look at secondary school, for example, what sort of pupil were you at school?
So I'm not book smart at all, but I can zone in on things that I do like. Secondary school wasn't bad. I lived obviously in Northampton at the time, and I went to secondary school in Northampton. I was I guess everyone was back in the day a street kid, out till late.
Yeah.
The kid that hung around the shops, causing a little bit of nuisance.
So different now, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a different world now, isn't it?
Kirby was a cool game to play, you know.
Yeah.
But I was also that naughty kid where people would be scared to walk past that group of kids.
Right.
And that was just through social society pressures, so on. I wouldn't say I was a nuisance, but my group was a nuisance, and therefore it put me in that group. So I lived in Northampton, and I went to school in Northampton, and we lived in a masonette, and I lived independently with my mum, my younger brother, and yeah, that's kind of like where life got a bit mad. So that's kind of where this podcast, I guess, is going to kind of go into what we're going to talk about.
And what was the aim at school? Was there, because I mean, if I think about myself personally, I wanted to be a PE teacher, then I wanted to be a sports journalist, and but probably until like year 9, year 10, that's when I started to get ambitions of where I wanted to go with things. I didn't fulfil either of them, but still, that's what I wanted to do.
I'm actually curious how many people actually have managed to fulfil their childhood wants.
Yeah, very true.
I want to be a vet.
Did you?
Yeah, I want to be a vet.
You've got dogs. You got dogs?
Yeah, got two chow chows now.
Yeah, have you?
I would have had my old dogs, but divorce is a funny situation, and things don't go your way. So now I've got one of my dogs that we had 3 of, and have adopted a new dog called Churro, and he's beautiful.
Sure, nice. So you wanted to save lives originally, and now you've ended up trying to take them inside the Octagon.
That is a quote.
Was it difficult growing up and having to move in Northampton, then another area and another area? Because as a young person, you've got to settle, you've got to sort of make new friends. How did that impact you as a young person, do you think, with all the moves and sort of the unsettlement, if you like?
On reflection, I actually can't think of a bad thought that I thought about it. But thinking of it as an adult and an outside perspective, I can imagine like another parent looking in on that sort of childhood and thinking like, that kid's gonna be fucked when she's older.
Can you tell us, or can you allude to any of the things that would make people have that perception of you in terms of what happened to you throughout?
Yeah, so I don't think my mum ever tried to be a bad mum, but in turn she was a bad mum. She was in a lot of random relationships, let's say. Not prostitution, but a lot of different men visited our house. She was always in sporadic relationships. And I don't think it's good to introduce new people, especially men, into the lives of children so often, also so frequently.
That wasn't kept away from you. You'd constantly be introduced to different people.
100%. My mum wasn't a hidden person. She wasn't a shy person, so everyone knew about our business. Yeah. We were like the family within the Masonettes that nobody wanted to be there. But at the same time, you had the other people that also people didn't want to be there, which became the group of people that my mum got involved in. So it was always kind of like, oh, there's that kid, like, keep your kids away from her kind of thing.
Right.
I wouldn't ever say I was bullied. I'm a very liked character. I am still as an adult. My friends say I've got an effect, and they call it, nicknamed the No Mess effect. People, they say, feel naturally attracted to be around me and want to be around me.
Yeah. Which is a brilliant trait to have.
I like it. I mean, I struggle to see it because I guess everyone's got their own doubts about themselves.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just like, all right, cool. Like, I don't get it, but sometimes I feel it because I'm very antisocial social. So I want to be around people for a while, and then there's times where I'm just like, step back.
Yeah, you need your own time sort of thing.
Exactly. But yeah, that I would say just the persona of my mum led down to me, which made people feel what I would say to stay away from that child.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
What's the age difference between you and your younger brother?
Just a year.
Cool. So was there automatically you got, I don't want to say randomers because there might not be randomers, but randomers coming in the house? Was there a protective element there always from young in regards to you need to protect your brother?
I would still say that to this day, yeah. Like, he's a more innocent body than I am. He's definitely affected things more greatly than I am. A prime example is my dad died, I think, 3 years ago. At the hospital, my whole family's crying, and I'm just there, like, blank-faced, trying to be I wouldn't even say trying to be. I was the strong one. I'm not crying. Like, my dad's laying dead in the mortuary, and I'm like holding his hand. No one else can do that, you know. And I'm just talking to my dad. He's dead on the table. Like, I know I'm not getting a response, but my brother can't be in the room. So that innocence, Can you? I think someone
Is
can
that
hear
your stomach?
Yeah, I was going to say. I think you
I'm
can
glad
hear
it's
my.
yours, because I was about to say to him, can you stop
I
that?
thought it was mine.
You're
at
the guest, so
start.
carry on making sound.
So yeah, definitely there is a protection element, but he's now got his little family going on, and he's doing his life. So, and he's not doing brilliant in life, but he's doing what would say the social norm in life. He's got his family, he's got a normal job, he's just doing life. So yeah, there was definitely a protection element, but I was also a bitch of a big sister, like evil.
So you wanted to be a vet. Then when you come to leave school, what were your options? Was it stay on? Was it to go to college? Was it to do an apprenticeship? What were the options on the table to you at the time?
So school actually finished in Oxford, because my mum died when I was 12.
Right.
And I ended up moving to my dad's in Oxford. So yeah, we lived in Northampton. I moved to Oxford. Sorry. School ended up being the last year of middle school at the time. Now it's like primary school, upper school. And I ended up wanting to do physiotherapy. Ended up in like a football route, whereby just fell out of love with football now. That's another story. Decided I didn't really like school. As I said, I wasn't book smart. Took a gap year, ended up working in a nightclub. But then decided that at that point I didn't want to be in Oxford anymore. In my head, my escape was university.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing a BTEC course. I got a foundation course and a what's it called? BTEC national course, national diploma. So I got those, and I applied for university in London. I was dancing at the time in terms of breakdancing, hip hop dancing, with a group called Messy Jam. And my basic picks for university were where is the best dance scene, and ended up being London.
Right.
So I applied on UCAS for like, what's that secondary option where like the places have all gone, but then there's
Yeah. I know what you mean.
yeah. So I ended up going to University of East London.
Okay.
Had to do a little test to say I wasn't completely stupid. And then, I went on to do 3 years in a sport and exercise science course. The first year I thought, going to be a physiotherapy. Realised a year in, there's a specific course of physiotherapy. Ended up not doing physiotherapy and ended up on the coaching route, which is pretty much my life now.
So that's the same as I did sport health exercise science, HND at uni, and I did the first and national diploma in sport.
Yeah.
So quite similar in terms of education background. Were you impacted by the loss of your parents, the loss of your mum back then? So where was the direction and the guidance coming through from an education perspective? Was there a teacher that you were close to, or as a careers advisor, or do you know what I mean? Because it's difficult to navigate the education side of things in terms of I'm going to college, I need to get that qualification to then go to uni to get UCAS points for this. And did you have any support around all that, or was that just all yourself?
All myself.
Wow.
100%. I remember one thing from school, where they tried to see if you were like average or above average.
Yeah.
And I was like, when numbers weren't a thing, it was letters to grade you. I was like D's and E's. So I was always below average, but I was in the upper groups because I was performing well physically.
Yeah.
But paper, no, not at all. Didn't do well at all. But no, there was no guidance. My mum paid no attention to my homework. Didn't do homework. Can't really remember my dad doing much either. So no, there wasn't really any guidance. Just kind of as I am now. Just if I have a goal, achieve it. If I like it when I'm there, carry on. If I don't, change the pathway.
Yeah.
So
nice. And in terms of addiction, where does addiction sort of fit into this? Was that on your mum's side? I know we spoke about this a while back now. But do you mind telling us what your mum was addicted to, or what the?
No, so I couldn't tell you specifically.
Yeah.
Because I'm not anti-drugs, but I don't dabble in drugs.
Yeah.
So I can't even tell you like what I can say like ounce and stuff because I know that's like a thing, but I wouldn't be able to tell you like a gram or whatever it is. But I don't even know if that's specific to drugs like weed or anything like that. But alcohol was also a big part of it. So as I said, we lived in Northampton in a masonette, and we were in sort of a community of people that nobody liked.
Right.
And I would say what started this was those different people always visiting our house, those different men. And I would say this is where addiction started for my mum. She got involved with these people. She ended up actually shoplifting as well because of this. And from what I remember, she definitely smoked weed. There was a scale that would sit on the radiator, like a little balanced metal scale. I remember spoons, so I'm assuming... What spoons?
Yeah, it's like crack and
Yeah,
herb, I believe.
exactly. Hash, I think it is. She smoked a lot, and then fucking typical alcoholic, like White Thunder, I think it was called, like this massive
Cider.
yes, like bottles and bottles, and 2020 MD 2020.
Yeah.
I remember these things. So each night, I remember her like having people downstairs. We weren't allowed to be downstairs. Or they would go downstairs to the flat and dabble in this stuff. And there was another flat maybe 10 minutes away, I remember. And we used to visit this flat. And I can't remember what happened in those flats, but there was a lady called Sue, and I remember once I was made to massage her feet. That's, again, those random
so
memories
random.
I have. So, yeah.
I wasn't expecting that one.
No. So alcohol, hash, crack, weed, smoking, and I would say to get that money, theft become an addiction as well.
Yeah.
To get that money, she didn't work, so benefits were a high fund of our income, and I remember it, the fuel of money going towards that, because I remember food was... My mum's Hungarian, as I said. Food was so basic. Like, if you remember back in the war, like, they bread and butter, potatoes. Ours was pig's feet in stew with flour potatoes, you know? Flour dumplings in, like, water. Pasta every day. Because it's cheap commodities. And when you're spending hundreds of pounds on drugs a week, food becomes not your priority.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Go on, sorry,
I was
mate.
gonna, did you see your mum using all stuff? I guess smoking weed, but in regards to melting with the spoon. And
I've got another. Yeah, so this is that sparked another memory. Panda pop bottles. You remember them? 25p.
Yeah. Better about £1 now.
I don't even know if they exist. You know. I think they're called slush puppies now. You get them in. But I remember that going downstairs, and it was like a bong.
Yeah.
Or maybe I don't know, crack.
What age are you when you've seen that?
So my mum died at 12, so it was sometime before 12.
Wow.
But I remember coming downstairs once. I don't remember what I come downstairs for, but my mum went berserk at me. Like, she got an ashtray and dashed it at the door, told me to get upstairs. And I remember crying. I don't know what it was, but then I didn't leave. I didn't leave the thing. I needed her at that time. My mum's, as I said, Hungarian. I will refer to that because Hungarian culture is rough. She chased me upstairs. She beat me upstairs, told me to stay upstairs. Like, that's the only memory I have of her actually using. But as a child, I knew she was using. So.
And so your mum's obviously trying to hide this from you, like maybe in her head, I can't, but thinking that you don't actually know what's going on. But at that age, were you aware that it was drugs and it was
100%.
Yeah.
As I said, I was a street kid. Like, all the people within my group were smoking weed, smoking cigarettes. Some of them were dealing drugs, you know. So yeah, I knew what was going on, and I literally can't tell you if it affected me. I generally don't remember a time being super upset that my mum was a druggie, you know.
Yeah.
The only time I remember was when I went to hospital and I found out she died. Like, that's the only time I remember being upset. But also very excited that I was going to go and live with my dad. Like, I laugh at it and it sounds dark, but maybe more so I was affected than I knew because of how excited I was to live with my dad.
Yeah.
And another memory spark from that is I remember when social services got involved, because social services were involved. I don't know what they did because my mum was still a druggie and I still live with my mum for a very long time. But I remember she saying we were going to live with my dad, I went upstairs and I freaking packed all of my teddies. I don't know if I packed any clothes. I think I just packed teddies, ready to go with a black bag, sat on the stairs, ready to go. Did I go to my dad's? Nope. I slept in my bed, staying with my mum. And I don't know how long it took between that scenario and actually living with my dad when my mum died. But then, ended up living with my dad. So,
And
yeah,
do you think your mum's life was cut short because of addiction?
100%, massively. So I think it was actually alcohol poisoning that finally got her.
Really?
She had a massive stomach, and I remember she went to the hospital a few times. But you might have gone to A&E, and there's like druggies in the thing, like screaming.
Yeah.
What's it called when they dismiss themselves from hospital?
Discharge.
Yeah, self-discharged herself twice before the third one. She went in and she didn't come back out. So yeah, drugs, alcohol definitely affected her lifespan. She was 42 when she
Wow.
died. So yeah.
And so then you and your brother eventually went to live with your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He ended up living in Oxford in his 1-bedroom flat. There were these. It's like a cushion, and then like a pillow, and it folded up into a sofa, like a couch.
Yeah.
And me and my brother every night had to like roll that out in my dad's room, to sleep because the housing situation still is not great. So it took ages to like move to a place. But my dad wasn't expecting 2 kids to come and live with him. It was a single man bachelorette. Bachelorette, is that bachelor? Bachelorette's a female, right?
Yeah, bachelor. Yeah.
These your 2 kids.
Yeah.
Like, what else is he gonna do? Like, put us in the system? No.
Yeah.
But given where you had come from, and obviously, if I was in that situation, I wouldn't feel safe. Did you feel like safe when you were at your dad's? Did you feel it was like the change of environment that you needed, or was it like because you hadn't had much contact? Was it unusual or?
I actually don't know. Like, I would say I was excited and I was happy to be there. I think the change of environment must have been exciting because school was fine. I had new friendship groups. And it wasn't what I knew, you know. My dad wasn't a druggie. He liked horse racing, like watched Sunday races on the TV. I guess some senses gambling, his addiction, but everyone's got something, a little something, you know.
Yeah.
But it was a lot more of a smooth environment. Like, we saw more of our family. We'd go to the pub and have like dinner with different members of the family. I got to see my nieces and my nephews more, who I've got a very good relationship with now. They're like the same age as me. They're my half sisters from my dad's first relationship kids. Feed the ducks, go down the river. Like, even talking about it now, like, the 2 reflections of the lifestyle were very, very different. So yeah, I guess so. Like, it was a better environment.
Like with you, when you moved with your dad, it sounds like you actually started to experience childhood properly for the first time.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, he even introduced me to my nan, which was my mum's mum.
Really?
Yeah.
So that introduction hadn't come from your mum; it had come from your dad.
My mum hated, like, my mum. As I said, she was a cretin. Like, she forced everyone and everything out of her life. And if that be through fights, through arguments, through keeping herself as an independent woman, like, fuck knows what she wanted to be like, but she didn't want to be in society, and it was very clear.
How did you deal with this? Because you've got an awful lot that's happened there as a young vulnerable child.
Yeah.
And you're almost like very calm about it. Like, have you? Do you know what I mean? Have you had a chance where you've actually had time to overcome everything that's happened, or has it been one of them situations where it's just sort of been put over there and left over there, and this is me now, sort of thing?
I talk about it quite frontally and quite calmly. I agree.
Yeah.
I don't know why it doesn't affect me. For example, I got married, as I said earlier. I got divorced. I'm now getting divorced. I didn't have that typical thing where, like, my mum's not at my wedding. I've never been, like, upset that I don't know how to do makeup. I don't care about makeup. Like, I'm very nonchalant about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Very nonchalant. I don't know. I don't get upset about it. If anything, it's given me a more positive outlook to life because I'm not her. I'm not that person. I haven't gone down that route.
Yeah.
I don't get caught up in things. That's.
I mean, the mental toughness is off the scale. Like, it's a fair play. But like, is there no no resentment or anything because I guess you didn't have holidays with your mum as a kid. You didn't have the normal things that kids do, going to theme parks, stuff like that. You don't have any kind of anger or resentment towards that. You just, in your head, it is what it is. I am where I am now, kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, honestly, like, my mum made her choices. My mum made her mistakes. As a young person, I couldn't change anything. I had no influence on her. And if me being her kid and wanting to watch me thrive as a child, to be proud of me, if that wasn't her motivation alone, like how I look at it now, like, fuck you. Like, you did you, let me do me.
Yeah.
I don't want to wallow in what could have been when I'm making opportunities for myself now.
Yeah.
The people that will be around me, that will be present in my life, will be the people that I reflect on now and pull from now. And one of my things is that I like to say, or two things: your past is your past, and whatever's there was there. As long as you've overcome that and you've grown from that, keep going. And nobody's got you but you. So I guess both of those statements are quite hardened, and maybe in reflection that reflects who I am a bit more from my past. But no, I've got no resentment. I don't hate my mum. Oddly, I'm not a religious nor heebie-jeebie sort of person, but if I find myself stuck in like a situation or a want for something, I'll find myself talking to my mum and my dad, like...
But you do have them conversations with
Yeah, exactly. Like, if there is that place up there...
Yeah.
In my head, she fucked up then. Maybe she can do something right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Again, not heebie-jeebie, but it's a nice thought to have.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
And last one on sort of education. When you were growing up, who did you aspire to be? Who was your role model? Who was your hero?
Absolutely nobody.
No one?
No. I couldn't say, I want to be this person. I don't think I ever thought I'm going to be where I am, I never thought I'm going to be somewhere.
Why would you have thought you would have been somewhere?
I guess that's life aspirations, isn't it? Like, you'd think typically you could do anything, be anything, but as a parent, I guess you would push that on your child. I didn't have that.
That's what I was referring
that
to.
element,
Like what would make you feel like that, given how you've been brought up and all the change? I think
just keep going.
The self-motivation and discipline, and that must partly come from being in combat sports and the discipline that comes with that, is just phenomenal.
Yeah, well, that's definitely given me a massive direction. So
yeah,
100%. I think not finding just the career in the UFC or ending up in the UFC. Do I know what I'd be doing now? No, maybe a minimum paid job coaching. That's the most I could say for you right now. Like, I've never known where my life is going until the last 8 years. And now it's got direction, and now I'm building,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Before we got onto UFC, you were playing two sports before that. So I believe it was football and then dancing.
Yes.
Football?
Football.
Where did that come from? What made you go for footy initially?
My dad took me to a club called Oxford Irish. Played on Saturdays, I believe.
Okay.
Ended up doing my BTEC courses based in football at the Oxford Academy.
Were you good?
I played for the Oxford Centre of Excellence. I wouldn't say I was the best.
What position?
I liked goalkeeper. I was put in defence a lot. And I liked wing. But I hated running, so I stayed in defence. And I was stuck in goal a lot because I wasn't scared to just freaking...
Put your face in front of the ball.
Exactly.
Where did dance come from? How did you I'm moving away from the mic, sorry.
It's fine.
How did you transition from football to dance?
So as I said, I felt a love of football.
Yeah.
And dancing, I don't know. I think I just always wanted to do it. I kept telling my sister I really want to do it. Ended up going along to a class, loved it, and stuck at it. Used to go to trips to London. There was what were they called? Floor artists. there was a group in Oxford that used to go to Oxford Brookes University and train, and we were shit, like proper shit. But a guy called Kieran was probably the best. He used to like travel and do like advertisements and stuff, commercials. And
If he sees this and listens, he's going to be buzzing that you the best.
he's heebie-jeebie, so I doubt he even has a TV. But yeah, so dancing came along, hence why I went to London and carried on breakdancing. And then that's kind of what brought me to Coventry. Is I met my ex-partner Marius, who lived in Coventry. Still, I don't know if he actually lives in Coventry anymore, but he was my main influence for breakdancing. Trocadero, which is in Piccadilly, was like our main spot, and a university, I forgot what it was, in London, where we used to dance pretty much every day. And I used to dance mostly with a group called Renegade.
Are we getting like, what's it
Not
called,
Renegade.
vibes here?
What?
Step Up, is that?
No, not them. I'm thinking there was the one that come on X Factor. They were
wanna
class.
say-
Diversity.
Yeah.
Yeah, are we talking like that
No,
sort of? No.
They do that. So if you look in, they've got elements of that. But like, no, this was just like back in New York breakdancing, like
Nice.
windmills, flares, top rocks, that sort of stuff.
Don't know what any of that means, but it sounds good.
Can't wait to see a bit out
I
there.
don't know if I could do it anymore. So yeah, that's where dancing kind of led to.
I think I'm right in saying that you literally walked past the gym and was intrigued by
Yeah.
the
So
gym, and that is how fighting come about.
pretty much. So breakdancing era ended
Yeah.
on the entry of entering mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
I was living in Coventry. I split with my ex, Marius. Breakdancing in Coventry was a very small bubble, so if you didn't want to be in it, or if you wanted to be in it, you couldn't do it where you were doing it in Coventry. So I just had to stop. I lived with my friend who literally lived a 2-minute walk from Lion's Gym, and
Yeah.
I was working in Weatherspoon, so I'd always walk from her house to work, and I'll just keep going past this gym. And one day I walked in there, talked to the 2 people on the reception, which at the time was James and Gurdeep, I think a guy was called. He doesn't work there anymore. Signed up for the free trial, did the free trial, literally every single class on that week I did, and I never looked back.
And for anyone listening, a free trial for someone that's done football that is a contact sport, but
Yeah.
it's not a contact sport when you compare it to martial arts, dancing. Like in this trial, are you getting hit, or is it just like some shots on the pads, or like what does a trial look like for any young girls that might be listening to this that might want to get interested in fighting?
So I'd say it's quite open. For insurance purposes, I believe you're not allowed to spar on your free trial until you've signed up and got all your waivers signed and stuff. But you go to striking, you hit pads, hit a few combinations. No-gi, you do drills. Grappling, you do drills. You might do Dutch drills where there's a bit more contact with the actual body of the person. You just get talked through a class, basically.
And I might be completely wrong in saying this, but when I suffered with gambling addiction, I didn't realise until I was seeing a specialist years after that I never opened up about things, never spoke about anything, never told anyone I was a gambling addict. But in 2016, started self-harming and hitting myself when I'd lose money. And then I found out further down the line that my way of dealing with things was to not really open up, but then just to let things build up. Then I just let my aggression out.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing if I can sort of translate that into your situation, and whether that might have been the same, where everything you'd been through, was this now a point where you were smashing some pads thinking I'm letting some anger out here, or would you think there was no relation at all?
In regards to that, honestly, no.
No.
I think I just really enjoyed it. I like the idea that it was just a new concept of something that I was shit at. Like I was the stiffest, like don't know how to do anything. Like I would hit with so much power, but with no technique. It was just something to get good at, you know.
What was the sorry to interrupt again? What was the split in the gym like at that time with
In
males
terms
and
of-
females?
I believe there was one other female and she did jiu-jitsu and that was it.
And everyone else was male.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's still pretty much that generally, like across gyms. Like as I said today, I've come from training, and I was the only female on open mat. You have to either go to a specific woman's like open mat, a specific woman's event, to be involved with a majority of females. But if you go to like an MMA class, it is unfortunate, but likely you'll only find one, maybe two females on that mat.
Yeah.
Likely none.
Right. Okay.
Aren't you currently? Are you running? Or was that back then when you were running free sessions
Yeah.
for the community
So
to get more women involved?
Yeah, I once in a while when I know I've got a time to commit,
Yeah.
I run a ladies open MMA mat. So
Nice.
I'll teach a bit of technique, go through a few ideas, and then we go into sparring, and then we just talk and chill and stuff. So yeah.
Well, if you ever need a little dummy, I'm sure Aaron will pop down so you can all batter him.
Mm.
But I'm sorry, man.
Go
I'm really surprised in regards to. I thought that you getting into the UFC and the fighting thing. I thought like Aaron was saying. I thought that was going to be your outlet for years of pent up aggression and anger. But just not. You just thought, oh, I'm actually right at this. And
Yeah. I want to do well in it. I want to strive in it. I want to be able to be the person for myself that does something good, achieves it, and like for me, fighting is something that I've actually been super good at. Like football, I was okay at. Dancing, I was okay. I got to a decent level. I competed. I travelled with dancing. I got to do trials with like Arsenal and Fulham as a kid in football in the ladies, but I wasn't good at it.
Yeah,
Like,
excel in it.
Yeah, exactly. Like being a female in mixed martial arts, it's definitely growing, but if you're good, you're good.
Yeah.
And it is unfortunate in that sense because I'm essentially, my career is growing in the UFC. My career is growing in the top platform of any platform of like sport.
Yeah.
And that's almost a negative, but it's it's my option, so I have to get good at it. But I also want to get good at it.
Yeah.
So, no, I really enjoy it. Like I love being good. I love being able to dominate. That sounds really sexual, but like dominate a dude on the floor. But it's not that, you know. It's not. I love the unexpectedness. Like I can do that. I just love it. There isn't an idea behind it that I've got to get good at it because of my previous life. I just really enjoy it, and I want to get good at it because it's going to provide for me if I get good at it.
And if we rewind back, you finished your taster session.
Yep.
What are you thinking? Because I'm guessing you've never hit any pads or done any sort of combat training before that taster session.
Never.
Is it, because I'm guessing it'd be a bit Marmite, like you'd finish and be like, oh my God, I'm never doing that again, or that was absolutely brilliant, I loved it. What were your initial thoughts finishing that taster session?
I just signed up. Couldn't wait to go
Signed up
back.
straight away and wanted to go back.
Literally. I didn't have any idea of fighting. I didn't know I was going to fight.
Yeah.
Fighting just kind of fell in the pathway of continuing. Started with like an interclub, for example, and then it led from there. An interclub is like a grassroots club competition where you go and test to see where you're currently at against people that also want to test where they're currently at. But yeah, I just loved it. I really enjoyed it, so I continued it. I got all the kit. Met James at this point. Like we got talking, and then I snapped my knee. So I was out for a year and a half.
And how long was that knee injury after you'd first started?
3 months.
So 3 months into starting, you then did your knee and you're out for a whole year?
A year and a half, yeah.
A year and a half?
Yeah.
What did you do, ACL?
ACL, MCL, complete snap, reconstruction. They
How?
took my hamstring out of this leg and they reconstructed it into this leg.
How did you do that? Was that wrestling on the mats or something?
My friend Vasil, he came across with like a knee cut across my leg. And it was a stupid thing by his part because I was in what's called a turtle position, which is hands and knees, foot based out. He was coming from behind. You could make so many sexual comments. But yeah, he knee sliced me this way and he basically snapped my knee.
God, that must have been... I'd be like, that's me done now.
What's that recovery journey look like? 18 months of not being able to do not much. I'm guessing you couldn't work at the time. Like, how are you mentally after having that injury? Even though it's not you're not a serious sort of fighter at this point. It's just very much 3 months into having your taster session. Like, what was the recovery like? And mentally, was it just a case of get fit as quick as possible and start fighting again, or was it one of them that dragged and you felt pretty down throughout it? And
I wouldn't say I felt down. I was in the gym environment still, and like I had weightlifting and people around me still helping me hit as much as I could. I think the idea of actually trying to get a solution to fixing it, because the NHS, as great as they are, they're also very terrible. And they kept telling me like nothing was wrong with me, like let it strengthen, and it was the most unstable thing in the world. Like I would walk and it would like give way. And even MRIs didn't pick up what was wrong with it. So when it eventually had surgery on it, they didn't know what was wrong with it. They just had to go in and see what was wrong with it, and on that is where they fixed it and decided that my knee was actually completely done and had to do complete reconstruction on it. But I was still in the gym, I was still in the environment, and I think martial arts as a whole is that it's a massive community. So even when you're out of it, you're in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I never felt down. I wanted to get back, but it doesn't affect me now. So.
And from when you went back and you were fit to be back on the mat and training, what was the time frame between when you were back fit and when you had your first fight?
Ooh.
Surely it's got to be over a year.
I think it was about that, yeah. So I debuted in 2018 and I started in 2016. So
How old were you then when you had your debut?
32. Oh God, this is maths now. So I'm 32 now, and I debuted in 2018.
You're 32.
26. Yeah, we've got.
I'm 33.
I'm 32, but then
33.
you're 23rd of July, aren't you?
Yeah.
And 21st of July. Joint birthday party.
Can you talk us through your first fight?
Yeah.
Your first competitive fight?
Yeah.
And like, how would that work? Because obviously it's not the UFC, but is it like what you said earlier? It's the interclub stuff where you'd go and.
Are we talking about interclub or amateur debut?
Amateur debut, sorry.
So amateur debut is different to interclub because it goes on your record.
Okay.
It's sort of your build to.
Where the interclub wouldn't go on a record.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Debuted in a show called Fight UK, which was I was training over as well as Lions Gym in Coventry, a place called Hardy Warled in Coville. And my coach Jimmy, who former UFC fighter, like OG of UK MMA, you know. He put me on his show, and everyone always calls me champ, like, what's up, champ? All the time, most environments. Fighted at 63 at this point because I was a smaller bodied person. I'm now
63 kilo.
Yeah, 63 kilo. And yeah, I went in really excited, really like just buzzing. No expectations, so no nerves. Just
no nerves.
No, just wanting to fight. I was head spinning in the background in the backup warm up room, like nothing, like just complete energy. And this lady, as far as I was aware, was a professional kickboxer, not a professional MMA fighter. So she was debuting as an amateur MMA fighter. So I guess there was a bit of like caution to how her style compared to mine, having no experience, just 2 years of somewhat training, including the knee injury. And yeah, just knocked her out, like full on, like folded her. Like, it's on YouTube if you want to watch it. She's called Cat Peas, Peas, P-E-A-S.
How long did it take?
16 seconds, I believe.
16 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your lead up to sort of like a camp is how long?
So typically it's said to be 8 weeks.
Right.
I like 12 weeks. But my training never really changes. I just train intense all the time. I'm on the mat as much as I can be. My only holdback, I would say, currently is financial.
Yeah.
Just because being independent and financially trying to have everything as well as trying to fight full time is hard. So sometimes, like for example, I'm going to Renegade at the moment, which is in Birmingham. Traveling to Renegade or Birmingham 4 times a week at the moment.
Especially from where you are now, from here.
Yeah, exactly.
So I used to do it with work. It's a pain in the arse.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So I would say that's the only thing. Financial is the only thing that stops me from having those intense sessions. But pretty much my week by week training sessions don't change in camp, out of camp. Food is the biggest thing that changes because I need to get skinny.
Cut the weight and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
When you won that first fight in 16 seconds, are you then thinking, yes, I can do this?
100%. I went into my second fight thinking I could knock her out again. Stupidest thing in the world. I lost my 2 fights following that. So I lost both by split decision and decision. The first one, though, the decision, and if Molly listens to this, I'm very sorry because I'm still salty about it. I don't. When you leave it to the referee, the judges, sorry, it's a judge's decision. It doesn't change. The judges clearly saw the fight different to how it played out. So if you watch the Molly Lindsay versus Melissa Mullins fight at the time, like, people make their own opinion.
Yeah.
But my fight where I lost on a split decision, that's like a decision that could go either way. So one judge says me, one judge says her, the other judge makes a decision.
Yeah.
You know. Again, it could have gone either way. It was quite an even fight, but I would say I lost that fight. But that's because I went into that fight thinking I could knock a bitch out. No. Yeah. Nope. When a bitch wants to knock you out, it is very even. Very, very even. So yeah, I did go into that fight thinking I'm going to finish it exactly the same as this fight. Like, you carry that through. But I got humbled. Definitely.
Do you think a lot of fighters do that? May win, and then does that give you sort of a false confidence, or does it give you a good confidence, do you think, after a win? Or I bet it very much depends on the individual.
Yeah, each fight is different.
Yeah.
Each fight is very different. And there's a lot of non-spoken stuff within the background of fighting that people don't talk about. Like, it's a lot. And as a person, you question yourself, your abilities every single day.
Yeah.
Against training partners, against sparring. You have good days, bad days where you're performing sparring and training, and then you go to the fight and you're thinking, what the hell happened? Like, you just got to take it as you go, and you've just got to perform to your best ability in that cage, and as they say, try to leave nothing in there. But that's hard.
Because I listened to a few of your bits, and you mentioned a few times about imposter syndrome.
Oh, massive.
Yeah.
I've heard you speak about that a few times as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Imposter syndrome.
I used to hate it, but I guess from doing therapy and stuff, I kind of view it as a good thing now, because it means you're coming out of your comfort zone, you're trying to grow as a person.
Yeah.
But how do you deal with that?
I think it will come over time. That I guess looking at it, I can't expect it to disappear right now. I think coming off of a loss in my last fight, I feel more so, I guess, a little bit more pressure to implement who I am as a fighter in my next fight. How that comes across, I have no idea. Perform as I compete, as I show my level, I will feel that I sit on the level of people that are within my category of fighters. I don't think you'll ever get over it, because each person that you come against is so said the next best thing for you.
Yeah, like the higher you get. Yeah,
exactly. So I don't think I'll ever get over it, but it's a part of it, so you've got to deal with it. So yeah, you're right. I think it helps you develop.
Yeah. And is there areas like, it's completely unrelatable, but like I used to hate doing presentations in front of board directors and stuff like that. Is there an area where you, obviously you know your strengths, but is there an area where you think, I'm not good enough to be doing this?
Every area. Like,
really?
Yes, for real. Like, you go onto a mat, like, let's just say specific nogi mat, and those people are training specifically nogi every day. Like, that's their element of the sport. I went to Worlds in Las Vegas in December.
You won it, didn't you?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, I compete nogi as an element of my sport. People that go to compete in these competitions are training just that element full time. The only reason I signed up to it was because I did my fight in the Octagon, which was my debut, and I just thought, yeah, why not? Like, just try it. And I didn't think I was going to win. I didn't. I had no idea what was going to happen. I wasn't feeling it. I was there by myself. I had no coaches. My friend Shaquille was, like, literally up at 3 a.m. in between matches, like, coaching me. Like, this is the game plan for the next thing. Like, yeah, like, and I won it. Like, I won it with no points conceded. I didn't get submitted. I went straight to gold in my category, which was my weight class. And then out of just pure, like, why not? I actually wasn't going to do it. I did the absolute, which is open weight class. And I won that as well with no points conceded.
Mad.
Gold medal. Like,
Is there not like an element there, like obviously imposter syndrome, but is there not an element you've gone there, you've won that specific area where you had doubts, and you're not like thinking, oh, okay, I am actually decent, I'm good enough
Let's
for
have
this.
it.
Yeah.
Yes and no. Like, yes, because it's there. I want it. I'm good enough. But if you don't doubt yourself, you don't question yourself, you're never going to strive to be better. You know, you're never going to strive to develop. You're never.
Yeah, improve and stuff.
Exactly. So.
If I can rewind us for a minute, just to
Sorry.
go back to the. So you fight in amateur. You had your time away with your injury. You come back. Then you had a few interclub fights. You've had some amateur fights. What does the day look like? I'm sure you remember it well, where you get the call or you're notified that you're going to be signed to the UFC and be fighting in the UFC.
Yeah. So.
What was that like?
Rewinding on my career just slightly.
Yeah.
So obviously grassroots, interclub,
Yeah.
amateur,
Yeah.
fighting, and then professional debut.
Yeah.
Then UFC debut.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So we've missed the professional bit out so far.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's like a whole new element. It's like your amateur career disappears,
Yeah.
and then your professional career takes over.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's so different, but it is, because the only thing that changes is your glove size, and you're allowed to land elbows.
So where you got that 6-1, is that starting now from the professional side?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm 9-4 as an amateur.
Ah.
9
Yeah.
and 4 and 6 and 1 as a pro. Got ya. So we're going to transition from the amateurs to your professional journey.
Yeah.
So can you tell us what that looks like from being an amateur fighter to suddenly being a professional fighter?
Yeah. So rule changes are elbows and knees to the head. Elbows allowed, knees to the head.
Brutal.
Yeah. Your glove size changes, so you go from a small bumper glove to pretty much slight padding.
Why is that?
I don't know.
I would have thought now I'm a pro, I'll get a little bit more padding.
Yeah.
No idea. Oh, and no shin guards. Oh, no, you don't have shin guards actually in amateur, but in IMAFs you do, which is a tournament for amateurs.
What about lifestyle change? Is there a
You
lifestyle
get paid,
change?
not lots in the UFC. Oh, actually, no, I lied to you. Ares, what I fought in professionally, which was the promotion before the UFC, I actually got paid more than I get paid in the UFC.
Really?
Yeah, I'll explain that in a second. And then obviously your professional record, building from the day one of being professional, debates whether or not you go to the UFC or big promotions like PFL. I mean, if you're going 0-5, you're not getting in the UFC. But fortunately, I went 5-0, sorry, as a professional, which got me into the UFC.
Wow.
Yeah, so
And when you say got you into the UFC, is that a call from someone to say, "Hi Melissa, we want you in the UFC"? Is someone calling through the post? What does that
pretty
look
much.
like?
So
Is it Dana? Does Dana call you himself?
Dana don't call me. No, I would like Dana to call me though. I met Dana. He's nice, very busy though, very busy. On the phone constantly. So professional debut is like small local shows, building, and then I went to Ares, which is a French promotion, which is shown on UFC Fight Pass.
Right.
They're kind of like a platform like Cage Warriors,
Yeah.
but in France. Those fights kind of got me noticed by management. So I was managed by a company called War FM, but they unfortunately weren't established enough nor good enough to get me anywhere.
Okay.
They're also a little bit, their contract was a little bit, I don't even think I had a contract in the end, which
Right.
was mad. Then First Round Management got in contact with me, which are a American-based management company.
They're big, aren't they? First round.
Yes, yes. So they've got a lot of sports athletes, like NFL and so on. And MMA is like a subsection of what they manage, and I'm managed by a guy called Maurice. I think there is a little bit of a situation because him and being American and me and being UK, he is struggling as my manager, I feel. Some of the things that were originally promised when signing the contract haven't at all come into fruition, so I haven't got any sponsorships by him. No endorsements. The only the fortunate good thing that's come from it is I got my UFC contract.
Yeah.
So basically, in signing with him, he didn't promise me the UFC, but he said it was a very likely route. and I think I was with him for 12 weeks before sort of talk sort of happened. And then one night I was just literally going to bed, and it being American time, they were just waking up. He calls me, and like I literally just about to put my phone down to like turn it off, go to bed, and my phone lights up. So as I'm putting it down, my phone lights up, and I'm like, oh, what's that? And I'm getting a call. And he's like, you right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you're not gonna be able to sleep. And I was like, why? He's like, you're going to the UFC. And I screamed, and I'm still with James at this point. So
I've just got goosebumps. I've just got goosebumps.
James was sleeping on the sofa because he's got
Paralysis.
Nah, what's the one where you got fucking
Sleep apnea.
Yeah, he got sleep apnea. So he's a young male with sleep apnea, and I can't deal with it. Like I couldn't deal with it, should I say? He's on the sofa because he's not sleeping in bed. He's with a freaking Bane mask on. But yeah, he's on the sofa, and yeah, now I'm in the UFC. I'm 1-on-1. It kind of feels like another reset to my career. Like when you're in the UFC, nothing else really matters. You just got to perform, and if you don't perform, either you run out your contract, which is for me 4 fights, or you get kicked out of the UFC. So
I would have, and this is just me, and probably says a bit about my character, but if I got that call to say I've been signed with the UFC, I reckon I'd karate kick the TV through and then tell the person that I was with I've just got signed to the UFC, like something big like that, mate. Like,
Yeah.
Like, what did you do that evening?
Couldn't do anything. I was going to bed. I tried to ring a few people, but like everyone's asleep.
Yeah.
Like no one's on the like. I got to share my excitement with nobody. I just
Tell
had to
him
go.
randomers.
Literally just had to go to sleep like this, and you can't mention it on like socials and stuff because until the contract's signed, nothing's official. So you're just gonna seem like this sausage that's like, I'm in the UFC, and then imagine you don't get to sign a contract.
Pulled or something happens.
It will be crazy.
A lot of people listening would think from that call, it's a completely different life now.
No,
but it's not.
It's fucking harder.
Is it?
Yes, completely harder.
In what sense?
Okay, so local shows, you're in the UK. Day before weigh-in, turn up and fight, get to go home. Arez, which was in France, Arez, they fly you out, you stay in a hotel, you haven't got to acclimatise, you're a couple of hours away, come back home, and it's all able to be dealt with. UFC, my first 2 fights have now been in Vegas. It's a 10.5-hour flight, time difference, time zones, and then you've got all like the media and the process of trying to acclimatise. So both times now I've gone out a week before, which isn't covered by the UFC.
No way.
No, nothing. So I will break down basically what the UFC cover: your flight, your hotel, your fight purse, your flight home. That's it. So
Do they cover it for the whole week before?
No.
Or
No, not at all. And you're not recouped on any of your money either. So straight out, my contract is 10-10, 12-12, 14-14, 16-16. So you get £10,000 to show up and £10,000 if you win. Now, in Vegas, you're taxed 30% because that's their tax over there. You are then paying your management 20% of the full amount of 10,000. If you weren't 20,000, then it's 20,000. Tax 20%. You are then to pay anything you owe to the UFC, so like commission fees, medicals if they make you pay for them, like if you haven't prepaid for them. Then you've got to pay the bank transfer fee. So however much money.
From dollars to pounds?
Yes.
You got to pay on that as well?
Yes. So you get the UK equivalent of what it is. You don't
So
get.
you're paying to convert it?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And then I'm taxed here as well.
So you tax twice?
Yeah. So, but I won't get taxed for my fight money until I do the tax year next year. And then on top of that, I've lost 2 weeks of income of PT. So I PT 15 PTs a week at £35, which is about 1,800 a month. Mm-hmm. Sometimes more, sometimes less. I'm having to pay for my car hire. If I choose to go out there early, if the flight difference of the day that they would normally fly me, which is a Tuesday, is the cost difference is, let's say, £500 to the day that I want to be out there. I've got to pay that difference. All my food the week prior I've got to pay for. They pay for fight week food because they plan it for you. And yeah, that's it. So let's say this time I went out there and I earned £12,000 because I didn't win, so I didn't get 12. I just got 12. I got about £3,000 in total, which is still technically half of that because I lost 2 weeks of income.
And that was after your first fight?
No, that was this fight.
That was this fight?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's hard, and I'm trying to maintain training full time, working full time. Well, working as best as I can, like to my career. Living my life, socials.
Yeah.
Trying to get in things like this, which will help me, I hope, in the long term to get my name out there and get people to understand my lifestyle.
Yeah.
Build like a fan base, so let's say.
Well, you've already started doing that on your socials, haven't you?
Exactly.
I was fortunate that Stubbsy put me in touch with you initially, which you always find funny when I call him Stubbs, don't you?
I do.
So Stubbsy got in touch with me initially, and then I was fortunate got to meet with yourself. You went out to the PI with the UFC, Performance Institute, and got a shot wearing one of our tops, and so you've been like wicked.
Yeah, you've been great. So thank you.
So you mentioned like potentially this giving you exposure for your name. I mean, it's given us exposure having you on the channel. So thank you, firstly. Arena Alexia.
Yeah, Alexieva.
Alexieva.
Yeah.
That was fight number 1.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about like the day? Like, you fly out to Vegas.
Yeah.
How are you feeling before you're about to make your UFC debut in Vegas?
So annoyingly, I felt how I felt on my amateur debut. Like, because I have no expectation of how it feels, what to expect of how to fight, no idea how the cage feels. Like, everything's exciting, everything's fresh, so I don't actually have all those like nerves and so on. What was bad was my warm-up. I'm really bad at warming up. I always have been. I struggle to switch on.
Yeah.
It's almost like I have to be punched real hard in the cage first, which I did. I got freaking sat down first round. Like, I was like on the floor. Don't know how I didn't get finished, but I didn't get finished. Yeah, I was excited. Obviously there was nerves, but it wasn't the kind of nerves that I experienced in my second fight. My weight cut was easy.
Yeah.
Like, training was wonderful. Went in there with, I had one injury. I tore my ligament on my ankle, which I was recovering from, and I fought with it. But it was fortunately a ground-based fight, so you'll see in the fight if you watch it. Like, she leg kicks me a lot, and those leg kicks are affecting me. Like, because my ankle's like trying to support me.
Yeah.
But it's killing. But fortunately, yeah, I won the fight. Complete dominated her on the ground, and just, it was a completely different experience. It was just new, it was fun, it was exciting, and I got to showcase who I was to some extent with one element of my game, which was my ground control.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Class.
Yeah, it was wicked.
It is, isn't it? So after first UFC fight, there's quite a bit of hype around you as well, weren't there? After your post-match interview, I know we've just briefly had a quick look over it now, but I remember watching it on YouTube at the time, and I thought you came across great in terms of just being yourself. I think a lot of the times when I'm speaking in person, but nowhere near in terms of experience of what you've had with the UFC, but when you go onto a podcast or you do an interview or something like that, often I find myself changing into sort of corporate mode from what I've done in my employment career, being in recruitment. But you were just yourself and stage yourself, which respect, mate, for that.
Thank you.
How was it post-fight? Like doing the presser and then like social media and stuff, was it?
Yeah, so oddly, Instagram is the thing that blew up the most for me because I don't really care for Twitter, and I don't really have like anything else. I mean, I tried to push a YouTube channel. It's too long. Like, it's a lot of effort. Oddly, like, so I would say post ceremonial weigh-ins, that's where like social media started to blow up the most, like both negative and positively. So like, obviously ceremonial weigh-ins are the day before the fight.
Yep.
And that's where people first sort of see you on that platform, and you are fed to the dogs. Like, fed to the dogs. So I think I look great. I'm like slimmed out, got a 6-pack, like my weight cut went really well, so I don't look like drained or anything. And I'm getting called a lesbian. I'm getting called typically British because I don't have the most straightest nor whitest teeth. Like getting told that I'm gonna get like ravaged by Alex Eva, like gonna get put down, like I'm a shit fighter.
And you're reading all this before you've had the chance to get in the ring and have a fight.
Yeah, like stupidly maybe, but like it's there.
Yeah, of
Like,
course.
I'm on social media every day. I'm on my phone every day, so
Yeah.
it's unhideable. So yeah, I had that, and then obviously I won the fight, and I won the fight. Although in post press conference, I'm disappointed in myself, and I'll
Yeah.
still say I am disappointed in myself because I can showcase better. But fight performance and training performance, as I said, is very different. But like people are like, oh, you should have won that fight. Like you did shit. Female fights are boring. Why is she even in the UFC? Like you've got all that. Like I wouldn't say it necessarily affects me, but you read it, you're like, fucking hell, someone thinks that of you, you know?
Yeah, there's just no need for people to even be projecting that onto other people. It's
No.
just like, what have they got going on in life? Just
Exactly.
absolute butt plugs, in my opinion. a lot of them.
It sounds bad, but I don't like saying this, but it sort of comes with the title now of being in elite sports,
Yeah.
doesn't it? It does. It comes with the title, but that doesn't mean you're given any sort of training on how to deal with
No.
that. Because if you're an amateur fighter and you've had so many fights, you've probably never had people abusing you on social media.
No,
But then
exactly.
as soon as you sign for the UFC, before you've even made your debut, because people have seen you on the cameras, you're starting to get a load of abuse, but you don't know how to deal with that.
No.
People say don't read it, but of course you're going to read it.
Yeah, of course. As I said, you're on your phone every day. It's like
Exactly.
a 21st century thing.
I'm guessing I know the answer to this, but did it affect you mentally, people? I'm guessing it didn't budge you whatsoever.
No, not really.
No.
Not really. But I guess in some aspects you could say it did, but I wouldn't be able to tell you how.
Yeah.
Like, if someone was to maybe like put me into some kind of hypnosis sort of thing and really break me down somehow, like maybe it did. But as I said, I'm hardened. Like things just go whew, over my head, and it is what it is. Like people have their opinions on me.
I think that's probably the best way to be, considering that you're now essentially so out in the public in regards to what you do. So
yeah.
So credit to yourself to be able to constantly take all these knocks and just keep moving forward with life. So fair play.
And so from Cloud9, winning on your UFC debut to then your second fight,
Not Cloud9.
how was that mentally, physically, everything? What was the journey like from fight one to fight two?
So the build up before the fight was probably what I would say the best camp I've ever been in. Contradictory, I don't know how, because as I've said about 50 times, I'm getting a divorce. I split with James in December, and that has threw my life up in the air, like insane. I've moved out of his house. I don't have his income. We're not sharing things. I'm not at my old gym.
He's not your coach.
He's not my coach. I've got a new team that don't know me. I've got no striking going on at the moment, apart from once a week at Renegade. I have no idea what's going on in life. I don't know if money's good. I don't know if money's going to be good. I don't know if I like my team. Like, all of these elements, and then slowly building into trusting and building with those people. Unfortunately, I only got to focus predominantly on grappling, and we went in there with the mindset of we're going to grapple. That didn't go to plan. So I get there fight week. Everything has gone really, really well. Like, bearing in mind what's happening in my head, everything is going freaking sick. My weight's going well. Fight week, my weight just decides to be a prick. I don't know what happened, but I had big weight cuts anyway, but I had probably my hardest weight cut I've ever had. And I don't even mean physically. Like, physically, I was okay. But mentally, that weight cut was draining. I was cutting weight for a total of 11 and a half hours before I actually stepped on the scale, which I still missed weight by 800 grams.
800 grams?
Yeah, it isn't a lot, but it is when you've agreed to a weight class, you know. It's embarrassing. Like, but there's a gentleman called Glenn who's at the PI who helps with the weight cut. And he doesn't understand how I did what I did and how I managed to stay standing, and I didn't get put in hospital, because the way I had to cut weight in the end, he's never seen like more than a handful of people do it, and especially as a female. So yeah, you could say that was a big element as to why I lost my fight.
Do you think it is? Does the weight play a big part in your mind about why you lost that second fight?
It does in my head, but I don't want to have it as an exterior excuse. I lost the fight. She was the better fighter in that cage. She used her skill set to beat me, and that's the outcome.
Yeah.
Warm up though, like I had my weight cut. I missed weight. We agreed. She also missed weight, by the way. Like we just both agreed in the sauna. She's got her own story of this that she's actually put on her post-fight interview. Bearing in mind it isn't completely true, but I'll let her carry on speaking her side. Yeah, we both missed weight. We both went to the venue, weighed in, and then had the fight the day after, because that's what happens in professional fighting. You weigh in the day before.
Yeah.
And yeah, warm up. So rehydrate, get back to some kind of good situation with the body.
Yeah.
Considering you've just depleted yourself to try and make weight, to then put it all back on and go fight. Stupid process. Yeah, had a fight, lost because I got kneed in the liver. It wasn't the head kicks that finished me, it was the liver shot. She folded me in half and I was sick in my mouth. Like, I had sick in my mouth and I tried to swallow it and I couldn't. And then she head kicks me twice, but I haven't recovered from the knee still. So, like, I just go down and I can't recover and the referee stops the fight. Yeah, and you're literally just packed up, get put in a car and sent back to the hotel. Like,
wow. And how are you feeling mentally after losing that fight? Although it doesn't define you whatsoever. Or
no,
your
it
career,
doesn't.
How is it?
It's hard.
Yeah.
Loss sucks. Loss sucks in any avenue of any style of life.
Do you see it as one of them, you don't lose, you learn? Which I hear a lot of fighters saying.
There was a lot to take from the fight, but I hate that cliche saying. I hate it. If I could have been given like a 10-second count, like how you get in boxing or Muay Thai, to get back up and recover, oh my God, I would have freaking like ravaged her. Like, the fight itself, I hadn't switched on yet, and like I wasn't playing my game, and I don't think I gave enough confidence within myself to be who I was in that cage on this occasion. And I think it's always going to be the case, but it's just depending on who turns up on the day, you know.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I've asked for the fight. I wanted to be on the Manchester card. Management didn't get me on the Manchester card, which is another situation I'm a little bit annoyed at with management, because I was almost promised it.
Right.
I've now asked for late August, so maybe Australia on 17th of August, and whatever's after that, I'll go for it, because I've now got to bring my weight back down again, because I was getting prepared for Manchester,
Right.
but then obviously not getting the fight is a little bit depressing in some senses, so got a little bit crazy with food, got a little bit fat. So yeah, I need to bring my weight back down, and I need to do that safely, so I need a bit more time. But I'm excited to fight again. I want to fight again, and obviously put a performance on, which I say every time, but that's the goal. Like, put a performance on, show who I am and why I'm in the UFC.
And what's the future look like for Melissa Mullins? Sorry,
Divorced.
How have I not? You told us. How do I not remember it? Is there a plan? A short-term, long-term plan? Is it just get out there and fight again and do someone over? What's the?
So I've got 2 fights left in my contract. If I get re-signed or I get to renegotiate a new contract, we will see. Females in the UFC are still far and few between. So hopefully, let's just say I go 3-1 in the UFC, or 2-2 in the UFC. They re-sign me, because it's the ideal platform to be on, to grow. Just the name itself is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, having your name associated to such a name is beyond words. I'm actually building a company with my business partners, Shaquille and Jenny, which is something to eventually fall back on when A, I'm too old, or B, something breaks considerably.
Not nice, but yeah.
And that's a kids academy called Levels, which is opening up in August.
Great.
Wicked.
Yeah, so hopefully get a lot more, it being female-led, females on the mat, and inspire young people to be able to achieve exactly what I've done, just from a younger age.
Brilliant.
Um,
And keep us updated with all that stuff.
I shall,
We'll
I
post
shall.
that on our socials and stuff as well.
um,
But you're hoping to be back out in
August. I want August or early September. That would be ideal.
Great. Nice.
Yeah.
You got another question before I hit my last one?
I don't. I mean, it's been a fantastic interview. So thank you very much for your time. It's been wicked.
No worries.
Last question from me is, what would you tell a 18-year-old Melissa Mullins if you had the chance to speak to your younger self? Is there advice or guidance you'd give yourself, or?
Yeah, it would be more so believe in yourself a little bit more. Like, you are you, and nobody's ever going to change that. Don't be manipulated. Like, don't let characters take you from your path.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just keep striving, keep thriving, and keep flourishing.
Amazing. I do have a question actually.
I thought you might.
Given from where you've been as a child and everything you've experienced and all the knockbacks you've had,
Yeah.
Can you happily say that you're proud of where you are now, considering of your upbringing and stuff like that?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I was proud of me from, like, if I could look at me as a person as a whole with that upbringing, I'd be proud of me looking at me then, you know?
Yeah.
But as an adult to where I am now, considering where I could have been, what I could have done, and what I've not got into, 100%. Like,
I had to ask because some people they struggle to say it. It's a hard thing to be proud of yourself, I think.
oh, yeah, I'm very proud of myself.
You should be, because your story is phenomenal.
100%. 100%.
Thank you.
And I think that wraps us up. So thank you very much to Melissa for her time.
Thank you so much.
Please like, share, and anything else you can do to support the channel. And we will see you very soon with episode 4. Thanks.